Welcome to the Built to Win podcast, a show about entrepreneurs, their processes, and how they turn their dreams into reality. Today, we've got digital marketing, brand integration, and all around expert, my guy, Aaron Bolden.
Thanks for having me.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for
Yes,
having
sir.
me.
Thank you for being on, man.
Love it.
We do this really the same way every single week
Okay.
because I know where you are right now,
Yep.
but my people want to know, where did it all start? Where you from?
I was born in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay.
Left Michigan when I was 2 with my mom and my older brother. I came to California and moved into the Venice Beach area. My mom and my dad, actually. And my mom and my dad ended up separating when I was pretty young. And from there, we moved into the Crenshaw district in Los Angeles off of Washington and Gramercy.
Okay.
And yeah, I was raised right in the Crenshaw district in LA. And my mom met my younger sister's father, Reggie. And that's where everything began, right on Washington and Gramercy. Went to 24th Street Elementary School,
Yeah.
in right there in the neighborhood of LA. That's where everything started for me, as far as this journey of life is what we call it. And it all happened, I would say, by design. My father leaving, all of that,
Yeah.
and being raised by a stepfather. He actually was, not there as much because he went off to the service. But when he came back, that was pretty much my experience with the father figure. And my mom is an incredible woman. She raised us to speak properly, I would say.
I like that.
Always was praying in private. I would say that because she never really pushed us into the church or anything like that. But my mom instilled in us this incredible belief that you can do anything. And growing up in the Washington and Gramercy area, it's an area where it's gang violence, and there's gangs over there and all that kind of thing. I had gang members living next door. Um, it it was an interesting experience because I ended up getting involved in gangs and that kind of stuff. And it was tricky because my mom came to California to pursue her acting career as an actress. She's now an acting coach and she's still doing her acting career and stuff like that. But just to see her on the hustle to
Mm-hmm.
make that happen, just wanting more,
Yeah.
was instilled in us immediately. And then, my mom and my stepfather, Reggie, they separated. So that's when things got real heavy in the house. My mom raising 3 kids, Reggie was always around, but, looking for a father figure came in immediately as far as for me being the middle child, wondering where my father was at. I knew Reggie wasn't my biological father, but at the end of the day, me being this emotional kid, I wanted to have that connection with my father. So my mom raising us by herself, left a lot of time for me to wander in the streets, become friends with friends who are next door, friends around the corner who are involved in gangs. And next thing you know, I'm affiliated in a gang.
Yeah.
And that really kept me out at night, getting in trouble. I did everything that you can imagine
Very young kid.
being
Okay.
affiliated in gangs and being influenced to do things. And I really would say that God was always there because what you call the older homies was always like, nah, something special about this kid,
Yeah.
something special about him. You're not going to go do this particular run to go, retaliate, whatever you call it. So I always knew that God was involved in some type of aspect. And growing up in school and all of that with me, I didn't really have any problems as far as like learning.
Mm-hmm.
I love information and, chasing a father figure and always wanting to know uh, what is the answer to this particular question and why did Columbus discover America? I would go deep and take deep dives. I was always researching.
You had a
Um,
thirst for knowledge.
I had a thirst for knowledge. So
Yeah.
school, I didn't really have any problems with acing classes or anything like that. But man, this is taking me back. But you know, I would say that the gangbang experience and being in school, and those two things combining with me seeing life and then saying, you know what, I got to start writing this stuff down. I started rapping at a young age, so I'm rapping, I'm housing, dancing, break dancing, getting involved in all of that. I basically learned how to document what I was going through.
Yeah.
And that was more of an exit for me, as far as like, it was very therapeutic for me to write down rhymes and document what I was going through and how I felt. It was, really trying to answer why. Why am I in this situation? Why I don't have a father? Why does my mother have to struggle? Why
Why
did
is your story?
why is this my story? And
Yeah.
why did my friend just get killed? Why did they just shoot at our house? Like, why am I born in this environment? And then it's like, how do I get out of here? So it was a lot of things that happened in my life that built me to the man that I am today. And I'm going to try to speedball it as fast as I can. But you know, my father came back into my life. He actually was on and off, but I really don't remember.
Hmm.
Uh,
What age did he come back in where he's,
when I when what age? Said it again?
what age did he come back where you really he's actively in your life?
Like 13.
Okay.
I'm 13 years old.
Yeah.
And, I would say I was a little angry, but I was happy, and it
Hmm.
was for the first time for me to say, oh, wow, that's my pops,
Yeah.
and I was able to bond with him. He's my best friend to this day.
Stuff.
But, he would go back and do his own thing. Papa was a Rolling Stone,
Yeah.
and I know he tried to do what he could for us in far as being present for me and my brother. But that aspect that was missing, I found that in the streets. And I used to take out a lot of my anger on music. And that's just where I was into. Like, I would join the battle raps, the local battle raps at Lamert Park, be at the Good Life, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Just, eating artists up, and I was really good at it.
Yeah.
And there was a transition in my life when I knew gang banging wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And this was a shift is what I call it. And, I was with my mother. I'll never forget it. We were sitting watching the BET Awards, and my dad, a week prior, he was in and out, 13 to 16. I'm like 16 years old. And I got the Jerry curl. I got the Dickies on with the Chuck Taylors, the full
All the way.
uniform,
Yes.
the
Yes.
full
Yeah.
uniform,
Yeah.
not the deaths that I saw growing up did not wake me up like this night. So I'm watching the BET Awards with my mom, and my dad left a week prior because he said his father was sick. And his father ended up passing away. Um, and they did a special on BET. And this big screen comes down, and my mom says, "Oh, that's your grandfather." And I said, "What?" I'm looking at the screen, and they're doing this big tribute to my grandfather. And I said, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, you don't remember being at the house in Malibu?" And I said, "No, I don't remember because I was so young."
Yeah.
And I think, we'll probably talk about it later, but like what you go through in the neighborhoods and stuff like that, all of the violence, you kind of just forget things when you're older. You're like, I got to focus on today to survive. But,
Yeah.
my grandfather's Junior Walker from Junior Walker and the All-Stars, and I seen how much they respected him
Yeah.
and they paid homage and they spoke about him. And I said, you know what? I'm from the bloodline of a king. This
Yes.
gang banging, this ain't me. The next day, Brian, I cut my Jerry curl off. I stopped dressing with the Dickies and all of this stuff. And I started to pursue my music career. I said, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be just like that. I want to be able to continue my grandfather's legacy.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit angry that my dad never sat me down and told me my story. I was angry about that for a very long time until we were able to really talk about it. Uh, Turning 18, from 16 to 18. Funny, I got my first placement as a writer for an artist signed to BET Records
Yeah.
named Benito, called "You Ain't Heard Nothing Yet." and I was writing for R&B artists. I was just all around creative. I just wasn't in hip hop. I was working in film, music. I was trying to act. I was doing it all. And yeah, actually, when I was 6 years old, my mom had me in May Ali's music video. I was 6 years
Okay.
old. You probably can find that online. But 16 to 18, that's when I was taking it serious. School, I was killing it. I ended up graduating early. At school, I was very outspoken, speaking at the assemblies. I started a conflict resolution program. I was always trying to stop the fights in the school, and trying to seek some type of peace wherever I
Yeah,
went. In getting involved in
I love that.
conflict. That
Yeah.
was always me. And I became president of the school. I started going to city college in the 10th grade. So I would only go to
You go to
that.
Santa Monica?
No, I went to Mid City Magnet. Well, first of all, I went from Mount Vernon Junior High School, 7th to 8th. Ninth grade, I was at Mid City Magnet. Everybody knows, on Arlington and Adams. And I ended up, like killing the classes. I was in physics in like the 10th grade. And I ended up going to City College during the day. But and this is all gonna make sense. There was a program where you can intern at a label, and I signed up for it. So I started working at BMG Publishing,
Yeah.
and that's where I really started learning the music business.
Mhm.
So I'm going to high school, city college, going over to BMG. I'm sitting there with Manny Edwards. He's like one of the biggest publishing guys. He signed 50 Cent's publishing and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty big back then, in the club and all those other records. But this was before 50 was 50. He was writing for a lot of artists. So I was learning the publishing business.
Yeah.
And I also shout out to Art Ford. He was the president of BMG. He ended up doing some things with me on the music. I got some of my music placed in film and television because I was always recording. And that's where I learned the music business. And I learned that, you have to have capital behind you in order to push in relationships, and the importance of having an attorney and how publishing works. And I had a conversation with my dad about my grandfather's legacy. And I was like, what are you guys doing with the publishing? So, educating my dad on that ignited this whole lawsuit to get back my grandfather's publishing. Because, back in the day,
Yeah.
those Motown deals were slave deals. But, a lot of people know in the publishing world, after 25 years or 20 years, I believe there's a clause where the publishing comes back to the family. So educating my dad on that, we started bonding on that with the family. Here I come, 18 years old, graduate out of high school. I'm about to go to Southwest College. I started the Black Student Union at Southwest
Oh,
College.
nice.
Uh, Another thing, off, when I'm off of school, when I'm out of school, I was reading on Black history. So I read books like Who Built America by Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Ben, Asher Kwesi. I used to go watch these guys speak at the Good Life. So I had an incredible dynamic to my life,
Yeah.
and still selling drugs,
Yeah.
in the hood, which was crazy. And, what made me, it was always these moments in my life that made me change. When I was selling drugs, I saw what I was doing to this one particular customer, how they came walking all nice and, had their mind right. After years and years of selling, I just saw it was breaking them down. And I was like, this ain't me. It wasn't being shot at, wasn't being chased by the cops or, rival gangs coming through. It was the people. I was like, this is not me. I
Yeah.
got to figure something else to do. So I'm out of high school. I'm at Southwest College. I'm rapping at this. I'm just killing it at this point in time. And my dad flies me to New York for the
Mhm.
first time. So I go to New York, and my dad's like, yo, I'm going to invest in you. And so I go back, I fly back to Battle Creek, Michigan first. And then, we go from Battle Creek, Michigan to New York. And we had disc makers at the time. And we printed up my first album, which was Life in its Realest Form, which was an album where I documented all that pain and just documented everything that I went through. It's an incredible album. It's powerful. And that's when I started selling CDs and taking it serious and making money on the business side of not only just film and television placements, but just like Master P in LA, getting it going. And I ran into this blind rapper. His name was Supervision, and I wrote for him because I was still writing for people, and he got signed to Capitol Records, and that's when everything just took off. That was another shift
Yeah.
in my life, where I understood the music business on the world stage now, dealing with a conglomerate like Capitol Records.
So this is amazing. I want to pause you for a
Yep.
second just because of the way that things are happening.
Yeah.
At the beginning of our lives, and I'll just parallel with my life, a lot of things happen and you have a shift, but you don't know why that shift is happening. You
Yeah.
can't see it. But at some point, with you reading as much as you did,
Yeah.
with you experiencing people, is there some point in your mind where you said, you know what, I want something bigger?
Yes. What started happening at a young age is being I was in studio sessions with some of the biggest musicians and producers, and when my environment changed,
Hmm.
that's when I saw that something's bigger than the neighborhood I'm growing
Yeah,
up in.
your thoughts of your potential changed.
Yes. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I can have this. My friend Robert White, he was working with QD3, Quincy
yeah,
Jones'
of
son,
course. Yeah,
and these guys used to have me in the studio. I was that young guy. I was just passionate. Like I was loud, I was boisterous. Like I thought I could beat anybody and I could write a song in 5 minutes. I loved Tupac and how he would not only just put a song down, but how serious he was about it. QD3 used to tell me how his conduct was in the studio, and that kind of thing. So it put me in rooms where when I would go home, it was about a 30-minute ride home. Like you're
hmm,
coming from the valley going back to the Crenshaw
yes,
district,
exactly.
and you're like looking back like, man, up that way it's quieter. Up that way there's opportunity. How do I stay this way?
Yeah.
So that's when, my mind started to shift. Those experiences of getting out of the neighborhood I was in, the environment, like we
Hmm.
were talking off camera. Everybody is built to win. They have a seed in them, but where's that soil for you to, for you to grow?
Yeah.
Where's the soil at? So the soil for me was, in the Hollywood Hills,
Yep.
in the Valley, Calabasas, where everybody lived, and that kind of thing. When we got the deal at Capitol Records, there was a shift for me there was because getting that deal and writing for that artist, we worked with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre, we worked with Timberland. His single was produced by Timberland. But I learned a lot about how songs were put together, how you talk to executives about your vision.
Hmm.
These people can take your vision and put it on the world stage. So I saw the do's and the don'ts. And then I went on tour. This was my first time really leaving LA. And I went on a 36 city tour with Mystical,
Yeah.
Jagged Edge, Cash Money was on the tour, Lil Wayne was on that tour as well, Juvenile, Ludacris. That's when Shake That. Watch yourself.
Yeah.
Show me what you're working with. So we were,
That's late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a Seagram's Gin live tour.
Yeah.
So, man, that experience was a shift because I learned not only how to control a crowd and, the girls and all that. What I learned is there's different cultures or different communities
Hmm.
all over America. I went to 36 different states and I'm only like 19 years old. So that changed my whole perspective on life, on there are no limits, you know? And I thought about all of my friends that passed away in that gangbang life that have never went from LA to Vegas and it's a 4-hour drive. I'm 3,000 miles away from home. I'm somewhere down in the South, and I
Yeah.
experienced racism for the first time, stopping at a truck stop. I never knew what that was like. You monkeys and all of this. I was like, I was shocked. It was
Yeah.
a culture shock for me as well, with so many wake up calls on that tour. And, I'm a person, if you notice that I like to talk about what I learned in the process,
Hmm.
not, I could talk about, yeah, I had the girls, we were drinking, partying, all of that kind of stuff. that is cool, but I learned quick on my first show how important discipline is. And
Yeah.
you know, we went out, it was 17,000 people, and I used to have to come out, what's up, Illinois? Y'all make some noise for the first blind rapper, Supervision. Man,
So
at
you
that
were Supervision's hype man.
I was his hype man,
Oh, I
and
love
I
it.
was featured on the single.
Yeah.
So I was rapping on the single. We had a whole crew back then. You know, they were from LA, and it was interesting because I learned the importance of socialization, like how you socialize with people matters. Like people was, you know, dogging out the sound man, and he would mess up your sound. Like
Yeah.
just how important
It's
it is to
important.
be nice to the janitor, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, what Obama said, like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this on tour naturally, and because I was watching them mess up other people's shows, because you know, a lot of those artists are a-holes, whatever. But you know, the discipline kicked in for me because, you know, at the time I was smoking and drinking. I lost my breath, almost passed out because the adrenaline
Yes.
rush.
Yes.
And my manager at the time, Cy, he was like, y'all got to cut the smoking and drinking. This the first show. We got 35 more shows to go. Y'all doing radio in the morning, all of this. So that's when I really buckled down and I said, okay, this music thing is really a job.
Yes.
It's fun, but you got to make it your work.
That's amazing. That's a great segue for me. Is when I came out here, as we spoke about, I was a singer.
Yeah.
And shout out to Steve McKeever from Hidden Beach.
Oh yeah.
My older brother Baron met Steve's dad. My older brother was in finance.
Okay.
Baron, and so he heard me sing and was like, "Yo, you need to figure out what you're gonna do. You've got a gift." And he was like, "You need to decide where you're gonna move because it's
Right.
not gonna happen in Chicago. So you need to decide between New York and LA." And I was gonna move to New York, but my buddies from college
Yep.
were from LA.
Wow.
And so I told them, I was like, I'm about to move to New York. I'm about to do the music thing. And they're like, why would you move to New York? You don't know anyone. I was like, it's okay, it's New York. Like
Yeah.
everybody loves New York. They're like, but it's cold. And at that time in Chicago, it was so cold that I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm
Yeah.
done with the cold. And so I came,
Mhm.
and I have a gift, and it's not, and I all give all glory to God. My
Yes.
gift is my voice is from God. Um, and it's a natural thing. And so I really thought when I got off this plane, they were going to be like, "Oh, Brian's here. Like, where do we put him?" And so what you just said
Yeah.
was a thing that I didn't process when I was young when I got here.
Mm-hmm.
I came, knew that I could sing, and thought that they would just make me a star.
Yeah.
But it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
I had worked. My father owned a construction company, so I'd work since I was a little kid,
Mhm.
hauling bricks,
Mhm.
wheelbarrow,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And that's what you equate to work. And so when you're
Yeah.
doing music, you don't understand is you got to be in the studio.
Mhm.
You have to be writing. You have to be networking and networking in the right places.
Yep.
And those were the things when I met Brian McKnight the first time.
Oh wow.
He told me, I was like,
Mhm.
what do I need to do? Because he heard me sing. His musical director was like, you got the gift. He's like, you need to write. If you're not writing, you're not doing shit. He said it to me like that, and it was like a smack in my face. I was like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
did you hear me sing? Did you hear what the people, did you see how they reacted to me?
Mhm.
And I was like, I can't write. So I wrote a couple songs, and this is a thing that's very important to Built to Win is I wrote a couple songs and listened to them, and I compared my couple songs to Brian McKnight's at that time back at one, and I was like, I can't do this because I'm comparing my first two to his probably, he had been writing probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I guess I need to figure out what's next. And so
Wow.
that's when I made my transition. But it's understanding that the thing that you're called for is you're called for, but you still have to take action on that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? So
Yeah.
you're right about work ethic is everything.
It is.
And it's like, you know, one thing I want to say to the next generation, to the generation now, is like, I made the mistake, and I'm going to share it on your podcast. I never really had a chance to talk about my journey, and w- being on that tour, getting off that tour with supervision, and then starting my own music career, which was being independent. I ended up printing up another album and putting records out. And, me being the social bug, I always say, when Mike Tyson quoted, when you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil,
100%.
and he's always there. He's always watching. And I was invited to just parties and in private studio events and just all kind of stuff. But I stayed working. I had a plethora of songs, but the discipline is something I didn't have. I would honestly say that, I partied a little bit too much.
Hmm.
And, I thought that was the lifestyle. And when I got closer and closer to the people that I wanted to be like, I realized like, oh, they don't have this uh thirst for alcohol or this thirst for marijuana or other substances. Oh, they're really focused. And you just you have to cut that out if you're going to be anything or anyone on any level.
Yeah.
So, as I was pursuing in that music, down the music world road after that tour, I got an investment from an investor. And I would say it was like a fad or a trend to get an investor after Master P, showed us the way. And I had other partners that introduced me into a lifestyle I've never seen, and it was just that party life. And we ended up not being so successful with the investment, but I met so many people and learned so much from that experience. And I had to exit. I walked away because of what was taking place around me and all of the warnings. That was another shift in my life. So I decided to utilize my relationships to make money because it was safe for me. And after Tupac and Biggie died, that's when I was like, okay, cool. I got this music thing going on, this investment with people that are around me that I don't really feel that have my best interests. Biggie Smalls event in my life, which was another shift. I was at that event. I was
Wow.
walking behind his car. I saw everything
Yeah.
and it traumatized me. I was like, what's going on? So I knew the same characters that are in that Biggie Small scenario are in my circle as well. So having all of these traumatic experiences over the years, I was able to make a decision, not knowing why. It just didn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking for that environment. So I shifted off into doing business development, utilizing my relationships through all my journeys. I was always that likable guy. I come in the room, I light it up. Hey, what's up? You would never know I'm from the hood. You would never know I gangbang. You would never know I'm from the Crenshaw district. I never embraced that. My mom taught me how to speak properly, be
Yeah.
articulate, tell your story. You don't have to say nothing, say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was like that. So I was able to wiggle in rooms and just really have uh really make strong relationships with people who make decisions on all levels.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a lot of business development, connecting people, taking my little broker fees and that kind of thing. And then um, this is when I started to figure out what I'm great at, not what I'm good at. I
There
was
we
a
go.
good rapper, but
Yeah.
was I a great rapper? No, because I didn't have the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have discernment. I didn't choose my people right. I wasn't making the right choices. You know, I gotta be honest with myself. And when I had that awakening, I said, I'm a great businessman. Not only am I yielding capital, but I'm bringing people together and it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, a friend of mine hired me at a rock label, and I was working as a A&R at a rock label. Like, being in an A&R, people know is they don't exist anymore today,
No.
but
No.
artist
Not at all.
development,
Yeah.
helping build out the vision. Also, if you're in a position of power to hire the team, build the team, that kind of thing, team leader. So I was working at a rock label, and Tomorrow's Bad Seeds was the rock band. And the label, I forgot what it was called at this moment. I'm having a brain fart, but I went to a friend of mine who I've known since I was like 15 years old,
Mm-hmm.
uh, legend on producing, Damon Elliott, Dionne Warwick's son.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to him and I said, "Look, you produced Green Day. I was there when you did Pink. Gwen Stefani, Keisha Cole, Ziggy. I was there,
Yeah.
right? And I did some of those deals, brokering with him, and brokering for him, brokering deals. And I said, I got this rock band. Hey, I got this check for you. I think it was like 40, 50 grand. I said, I want you to come in and be the executive producer of this album. We're gonna make these kids the next Green Day. So I put that together. Boom. And Damon murdered that record. I'll never forget it. Whitney Houston is his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a hotel room and I was man, this gives me chills. I never talked about this. Wow, God is amazing. Listen to this,
Yeah.
man. So Whitney passed away, you know, uh, God rest her soul. And Damon called me. I'm watching this on the news. I'm like, what? Oh my God. The phone rings. Ding. It's like in a movie. I answered the phone, I'm like, what's up? He said, listen, you're my manager. I fired everybody. I like you. You're going to be great. You're an incredible businessman. Call me in the morning. Click. I looked around. I'm like,
What
and
just happened?
what just happened? It's a shift. It was God. I didn't know. I did not
Grace.
know. It was grace and it was a
Yes.
blessing that came in. And um, I was like, what just happened? So I go to sleep. And at this time, I was looking for an apartment, looking for a place, going through the breakup phases, breaking away from vices and, struggling, trying to figure my life out and all of these kind of things, but still doing great stuff. I called him and he's like, where you at? Are you managing me? I said, Damon, what are you talking? He said, come over to the house. So I go over to his house and he's like, I told you, man, it's time to go. Let's go. So boom. I was like, all right. So I started, calling up some contacts, people who need production and who need a songwriter or anything, because he was doing it all. He did Keisha Cole, he did Pink, I'm coming up. So I'm like, I'm selling him. I could
Yes.
sell fire in hell, what they say, or water to a well. So boom, I'm doing all of that. And we're closing deals. We're closing. And it was interesting because Damon, never hired an attorney. He
Mm-hmm.
said, you're going to learn how to do the contracts. You did the
Oh
deal, do the
wow.
contract. I was like, all right. So I had to Google and I'm learning through the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me, you know, fitting this brand built to win. This is like me, like, wow, this is happening. But I just had that drive. And
Yes.
here's another shift in my life. And he calls me and he says, I'm going to introduce you to my mom. And I said, all right, cool. He said, oh, so I know um, uh, 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 Warner. Warner is Verdine White's, son, like
Mm-hmm.
from Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yes.
So I hung out with Warner. I skipped a lot of my story, but me and Warner we're really good friends, and Verdine is like always been giving me advice, and I've been to a lot of studio sessions with them, and he Damon's like, I want my mom and Verdine to collaborate. Can you make it happen? And I'm like,
Oh
don't they
wow.
know each other? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. So I hit up Verdine. I'm talking to him. I sell it to him like, Dion's working on her album. She's gonna come back. Well, she ain't never left, but she wants to do. He's like, all right, cool, cool, cool. And so he's coming to the studio. So Damon gives me this fair warning. He's like, don't interrupt my mom. Don't ask a bunch of questions. Like,
Yeah.
and then the manager comes out and he's telling me all of this as well. And this was a shift. And this is where the name for my podcast came up and what I
Yes.
live by and what I instill in kids. Every kid that watches this, I want them to know this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, don't sit on your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I went in that studio session and I'm there with Verdine White, Earth, Wind and Fire,
Yes.
Dionne Warwick, legend, and they're in there gigging in the music. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I was like, we could spice this up a little bit. And I'm like, what is this? So I said, Miss Warwick, you can hear a pin drop. It's like everybody looks at
Yeah.
me, right? And she said, yes. And yes, Aaron. And I said, I just want to ask you a question. And she said, go ahead. I said, well, you've paved the way for so many people in the music business, African American, females especially. I said, is there anybody that you would want to work with that's, younger in this game? And she said, that's a good question. And, of course, it was conversations. And then she ended up saying Neo. And I went and got Neo, CeeLo, Alicia Keys, Ziggy Marley. We did a deal at Capitol Records. Like the whole thing just unfolded. And I'm on traveling on planes with her and to go sing at Robert Smith's house, spending 2 weeks up at Robert Smith's, being able to be in a room to ask questions. Like
Yes.
everything is about environment. And that was a shift in my life. And I was like, incredible. And I'm still trying to change that life from a rapper to a businessman.
Yeah.
So I still had some of those habits as well. And still going through those experiences. I was so happy I was in those environments. And that was a shift in my life from one question.
Yes.
One question.
Yes.
And ever since then, man, to fast forward, I've always kept mentors in my life. I really feel that Damon mentored me a lot through that journey of the music business and working with him. I have a couple other mentors. One you just spoke with, Phil Temple, he's been mentoring me for over 10 years plus and just been guiding me through this journey of life. And I've done some incredible things. Right now, I am focused on launching my podcast, Don't Sit on Your Ass, but as well as getting this message out,
Yeah.
teaching kids about, the importance of environment, people in general. Doesn't matter what age you are, if you're alive, you can still, accomplish that dream.
It's an infinite
Yeah,
game. So if
it's
you're not
infinite.
learning,
If you're
then
not,
you're dying.
you're dying,
Yeah.
and I have a saying, if you're not planning and praying, you're plotting, so, I've done some incredible things in life, and I know that I'm built to win. I know that.
Yes.
I know that for a fact now. Now I know my why. I know how, and I
Yes.
know where I'm going. I have a saying: it's not what you're going through; it's what you're going to. Les
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
So a lot of the things that I've done has put me in rooms with people like Dion, Magic Johnson, Candace Nelson, Sean Neff, Baron Davis, like spending intimate time,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to ask questions, not about how was that game in Super Bowl 55?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even watch sports.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed about what is your routine? And I spent
Exactly.
12 hours with Magic. I went from his office to his house
Yes.
because I did the business conference, Wellflix. I
Mm-hmm.
was one of the producers on that and did business development for that. And being able to sit with Magic and ask him those questions. And
As he
can you,
transitions.
can you just imagine?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at now in my life, is the information that I've received in those intimate moments, is to speak that to those kids, to really get these kids or adults to understand, but really kids,
Yeah.
like, you're doing drugs and rapping. Well, I know the artists that you look up to don't do that. They might rap about it, but there
Correct.
is no way you could be that successful and do drugs all the time. It's impossible. Like, these people have on and off times, discipline.
Yep.
I'm not saying I condone it, but like the intimate, the things that happen behind the scenes are more important for me to transmit on my platforms or my speaking engagements
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's where I'm at right now. I know
I love
I
it,
talked
man.
a lot, but
No, no, this is
yeah,
great. At the end of the day,
yeah,
uh, you and I connected a few months ago,
yep,
and what was put on my heart is to have people on the show. It's about entrepreneurs, but entrepreneur or not, is people who understand that we are put here for a purpose.
yep,
There is something, there is some spark, there is a soul um, that drives you to a goal.
yes,
One of my guys, Sanika, said it's a mission.
yeah,
Your mission, if you're on your mission, you will get to your purpose.
yeah,
And so all of these things and the fact that we are all connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all through God's grace.
Yes.
And you have identified that grace
Yeah.
and been very intentional of pouring back into the system.
Yeah.
This is my opinion, is they're universal laws. And when people think about tithing and things like that, when people who grew up in a church like me, that tithing is not necessarily about money, but it's giving of yourself.
Yeah.
With nothing expected in return.
Yeah.
Because there is so much to give. And the more you give, the universe will give back to you because you are making this place better.
Yes. Yes.
And you, my friend, are definitely making this place better.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say, yes, success is right there for you, right? But there is a recipe. There is a
100%.
recipe. You
100%.
got to know the recipe. And I didn't have the recipe all my life.
Mhm.
You know, I made a lot of mistakes in my life. And you got to be honest. Accountability, yeah. But you got to be able to speak it. Speak, what does it take, Aaron? Routine,
Yeah.
discipline, consistency, okay?
Yes.
Discernment. You can't do it by yourself, right? You got to have the right people around you,
Yes.
or it's not going to work. That's what I want to tell kids. Like, if you're not consistent, if you're not disciplined, you don't have a value system, you don't have a belief system, you're letting things external motivate you, like
Yes.
music, people, gangs, your environment.
Close.
You're playing the blame game.
Yeah.
You're living in a time right now where you have access to more information than ever. The thing that you need to do is apply the information, because you're applying that ignorance, right? That's easy, because you're not, you know, accountability is saying, like, I was in a gang. I was applying the ignorance, not enough to get me killed, though. Not enough to say that that's my identity. When you are trying to be successful, this is my thing. It's not going to work if you don't apply those customs. It's not going to work. I like to be very clear with myself. Like, I cannot, it's not, oh, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't smoke weed. No, I've been around the best. They don't do that. Like, what type of money are you talking about? Are we talking about Magic Johnsons and the Robert Smiths and the Steve Schwartzmans? Or we're talking about, you know, some gang banging money or some like cliquish money? Like, what do you want? And not only money, what kind of impact do you want to have?
Correct.
What kind of legacy? There is a recipe to being built to win. You know, you're built to win, but are you winning? Are you that seed on the windowsill? Are you that seed that's in the soil? I'll say to my friends all the time, I say environment is important. When I talk to my friends that are the same age as me and they still talk, you know, like
we did
boys,
when you were kids.
like a Boys in the Hood movie, right? Like, you know, or like Snowfall, like it's still like that. Like, look, man, it's like being in the ocean and trying to light a lighter. You could pray, you could woosah, you could pay tithes, you could scream Yeshua, Jesus, you could scream Allah, you could talk whatever you want. It's not going to light.
Yeah.
So God is saying what? Go into the right environment. Don't be afraid to leave your environment. Stop saying, oh, it's the white man, it's this, it's the system. It's you. You don't want, if you don't build a system, you'll be a part of a system. There is no in between. And I had to get to that understanding, to understand like all of my mistakes, I had to own them. The people that I've hurt, from the times I've hurt my mom, my kids, man. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I've been through a lot, man. And I'm passionate about just talking my truth, and for people to understand, like, you know, your environment doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't define you, and you can change. You know, it's about your choices. You're going to look like your choices. And every day you wake up, every day you can change the trajectory of your life. And people may not believe the person that you're going to become. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're always talking. And they're like, he's always talking. He's chirping about his future. Well, God said, write the vision and make it plain and speak it to existence. But you got to have the elements. You got to implement, you know, what you're learning and what you know. And that's just where I'm at in my life. And I don't know where all this emotion came from, because I do know where it came from, because you just walked me through my life. And, when I talk about people I've hurt, because it's not about from gangs and this and that. Like, my mom wasn't proud of me being in a gang. My mom wasn't proud of me seeing me drinking and hanging out with the homies and, experiencing things with substances and stuff like that. My woman wasn't proud of me. My woman left, came back. My brother, my cousins, some of my friends, like, I just want people to understand, like, I made it out. I made it out of
Not
that
only did you make it
thinking.
out, you understood that. As I
Yeah.
tell one of the kids that I mentor, Jeremiah, shout out to him. I
Yeah.
love this kid. He went through a program that we created, a training program last year. He's one of the kids that I'm still connected with. And we speak all the time, and I tell him,
Yeah.
we are both the hero and or the villain in our
Oof.
story. We are the creator of our story every
Oof.
day, and we have the ability, just like you said, to choose which one we want to be every single day. People ask me
Wow.
at the gym that I go to. I've been blessed. I get to see Magic. Magic has, people don't know, at the gym, he's there at 6 in the morning,
That's
every
every day.
single day,
Every day.
every single day. He's
Yeah.
working out. When he travels, he's not at the gym, but I'm sure he's still working out at 6 a.m. But
Yeah.
the reality is the things that we decide to do is who we become.
Yeah.
Our everyday choices.
Yeah.
People think, oh man, I can't do
Yeah.
this, I can't do that. You can do whatever you want to do
Yeah.
if you decide to do it habitually.
Woo. Yes.
And no matter
Yes.
what, either you're going to be a failure because you've chosen to be a failure every day,
Mm.
or you're going to be successful because
Wow.
you've chosen to be successful every day.
You know what? I love that.
Yeah, bro.
And, just to make reference to the Bible, I studied the Bible, Quran. I had a wake up call, another shift in my life when I went to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Israel for 4 years in
Oh, wow.
Holland. I went there for 30 days, okay? And I interjected in a marketing meeting. One of the biggest entertainment companies, Roberto. Shout out to Roberto. I know that's a unique name for Israeli, but Roberto Roshan. And he was like, let me talk to you. And I'll speedball this a little bit quicker, but he said, what is it going to take for you to stay? And I was like, what? I ended up staying for 4 years. I was working as business development for the largest entertainment company in Israel. Um, I started learning what words mean, the power of words.
Hmm.
And in the Bible, it says, like, the word was with God, God was the word, and the word became flesh. Well, word in Hebrew is expressed idea.
Mm-hmm.
So the expressed idea became flesh. And I said, wow, the power of words. And for you to say creator, like, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe also that people that struggle with their identity, they should understand the power of their words. Like, I am, whatever you put after, is what you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in Hebrew, they say, what is your name? That means, what are you? Because whatever the name of the thing is the name. So if
Yes.
you're little devil, that's what you're going to become. So you do create your reality,
Yes.
and it took me a minute to understand that
Mm-hmm.
I was creating everything around me. I was creating all of the pain, all of the happiness, all of the mishaps. I used to blame everybody. I took everybody out of my situation
Yeah.
of experiences in life, to really focus on, what can I do better? What did I contribute to this? And I was able to get to that point, and I will stress to the Black man in America and Black men around the world,
Yes.
uh, therapy is good.
Therapy is great.
I started going to therapy, and I came to this conclusion, and I'm like, my whole time living, I know I look young, but I'm 45 years old. It's my first time going to therapy. And I took everybody out of it, and I was able to look at myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to say, I'm the creator of this. So I need to create a better reality. And I need to take the information that I'm learning about my mind and what and how I can control my mind. I need to study successful people. I don't need to sit here and act like the information is not available. I can go into Google right now and say top 5 motivational speakers, top 5 best mind controllers. You know, people
Yes.
like David Goggins, Eric Thomas, Anthony Robbins,
Yep.
Zig Ziglar, you know, Jim Rohn, all of
Yes.
these guys.
100%.
You know, these are the people that I researched, and I said, they're successful because of what? And answer that question with tools.
Yep.
And, you know, I recommend that people say, yeah, I create good and bad. Okay, you do. But how do you address the bad that holds you, the trauma,
Mhm.
you know, the trauma bond that you have to your past, that you bring into your relationships, business, love, everything. Like these are the things that I'm currently going through right now. And I'm not afraid to speak about it because it helped me. And I know it's taboo in the Black community, the Black and brown community,
Yes.
you know, for us to seek therapy. But if you watch Billions, everybody's watching the show, but they're not looking like, oh, he's got a therapist to make a decision.
You're not looking at what it is everyone
You know?
reads the words, but they're not reading between the lines.
Oof. Yeah.
That's what it is, man.
Yeah.
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 My family, we dealt with mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a huge stigma, as you know, in the
Yep.
Black community.
Yep.
But the more and more, and I love that right now we're in a time and a place where people are embracing conversations
Yep.
about it, not just your mental well-being,
Yeah.
and really getting to know yourself and
Yes.
understanding what are your triggers and how do you heal
Yeah.
the child in you.
Oof.
So these are the things that are extremely important.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I love what you say, man, because that you know what men struggle with
Yep.
and people in general. It's not just men, because that's why I got emotional, was because you know the right questions to ask. I'm taking you on a journey, but I'm going through it myself.
Yes.
And you know, facing your trauma is it's not scary. It's actually an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, they say you gotta just let it go. You gotta let it go. Well, first you gotta know what it is.
100%.
You have to label it. You have to know who you were, who you are. You have to know where you've
Yes.
been. And you have to study the outcome to get the income.
Yes.
You know, these are things that I live by. And I got like in my phone, I got like 226 quotes because I'm just like a slogan guy off of information that I've, you know, have attained or retained over the years. You know, from being a rapper, I come up with these different slogans like, don't get blinded in the blessing. You know, it's a blessing to acknowledge that you're wrong.
Yes.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
God is like, he's got it. It's a blessing to say that I'm going to pursue this vision.
Yeah.
It's a blessing for you to just even speak it. Not only speak it, put forth the action. Like if you're not putting forth the act, it's not going to happen.
Faith without works is dead.
It's dead. And it's like people, young people, it's not that they want it to happen overnight. I hear a lot of, you know, elders say they just want it to happen overnight. They just don't have the information.
That's exactly what it is. I just sat when I went to the gym this morning with a friend of mine, girl Amy at the front desk, and she's a nanny, and she
Yeah.
talks about the young kids. They all want to manifest. They all want to manifest, but they don't understand. You don't just manifest millions. You have to do the work. You have to become the person
Yeah.
who deserves
Yeah.
millions.
Mm,
And that's why people don't understand.
like that.
How do these people that win the lottery, how do they lose all of this money? Because they haven't become that person who understands how to manage hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
If you're still that person that has no money, doesn't matter how much money you have, you will eventually pitter it all away.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I believe it's important to have advisors. You know, one of my mentors, you know, Phil, he said, you can have a business idea.
Yep.
You can put it on a deck and everything. He said, people invest in the board of directors. Who's advising this person? And why should I give you millions and millions of dollars?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have somebody on your team, probably will never happen, but let me just like Jamie Dimon,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he knows how to manage money.
100%.
Larry Fink, like he knows how to manage money,
A little
Steve
bit.
Schwartzman, a little,
Yeah.
so like, money is a tool, and money is not the rule to all evil. Money is 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 the gasoline to your vision and your discipline.
That's correct.
Money doesn't change you. It makes you more of who you are.
Yep.
What are you now? I have a saying like, you can change every day. You become in your life, I would say 3 times. There's shifts. You're becoming. What are you? Like when I look at Magic Johnson, I see basketball player, entrepreneur, investor, father.
Mhm.
Like we know he's become. He wasn't always that, but he always was practicing those personalities or
Yes.
identities. Like I knew when I got into the management, I knew it would be a challenge. I knew I had to do some research, but the adversity that I faced, it didn't stop me. It made me who I am today. Now you could throw a contract in front of me. I could read it with or without a lawyer. I could tell you what things mean. And the best teacher is experience.
100%.
It's experience, and you just can't be afraid. You have to lose the fear. The fear has to eventually leave. You have to be, everybody online, you could see it. They're saying like you have to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to. The bamboo tree grows for 5 years under, and then it just
Exactly.
sprouts like
Yes.
crazy in 6 weeks. It's a bamboo tree. Like all of these analogies that God put around you are examples
Of who
for
you are.
you.
Yes.
We as human beings to understand, like God gave you all of the assets. The tree makes the table.
Yes.
Like, what does your idea require? Your idea not only requires you, it requires intelligent experts. I believe hiring people who are experts, not only who's going to hold me accountable, who are going to help me steamroll this train down the road. I'm not a part of the teams that are going to halfway do it. I've been through that. When I told
Yeah.
you we had the investment, when I was an artist, we had $800,000. I could have been the biggest rapper on the world if I would have had people that weren't partying and drinking and introducing me into things that, were unsuccessful, that didn't add on to where I wanted to go.
Correct.
So it's so important for human beings or just people in general to be honest. Does my auntie really know accounting?
Yeah.
Does cousin Ray Ray
Yes.
know marketing?
Yeah.
Does Sheila, my cousin, know how to speak to people when I'm in a room?
Yes.
Because you can get in the room. Can you stay in the room?
Yes.
Can you tell me your vision in 30 seconds? Okay, then I need to hear your vision for 15 minutes. Give me the whole picture.
Right.
Like, you should hire experts to teach you, to advise you, to help you get to the next level. I was sitting with Magic at the conference. We had him on Wellflix. He said, don't be afraid of partnerships. He said partnerships are key to his success.
Yes.
He said that, he spoke his vision to a financial firm. They gave him $300 million. He said, pay people back. He said he paid them back, and now he's at unlimited amounts of wealth he has access to.
Yep.
So the power of relationships, the power of a vision, the power of partnerships and speaking things into existence, not letting adversity stop you, your environment, not clouding your reason because you're in your own mind, clouding your reason with alcohol and drugs. Like, really identify not only that death is in that, no, cloud it. My reason, I'd rather just die than experience growing up being a blinded man and a blessing.
Yes.
You
I
know?
love that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah.
Where do they find you now prior to 2025?
As far as on social media, where
Absolutely.
you can find me at, okay, it's Aaron Bolden. I am Aaron, B as in boy, Olden. That's Instagram. YouTube channel is, you can find me under Aaron Bolden as well. The podcast I have coming out for 2025 is Don't Sit on Your Ask. So you can find that on social media as well, on Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, all of that. Follow me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Man, this has been a great show. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the things that you said, but more than anything, the emotion and the genuine feeling that you have
You
for
brought
how
it out of
blessed
me.
you are.
You brought it out of me, man.
Amen. You've let everybody know
Yeah.
we all built to win. It's love.
My man. Yeah.
Appreciate you.